In 2017, Barnhart Crane and Rigging took on a job at the Port of Seattle, preparing 4 Wärtsilä motors, each 19 feet tall and 400,000 pounds, to be installed in the engine room of a ship in need of new engines.
We were originally contracted to offload the motors from ship's gear, transport to on-site storage, and store for an indefinite amount of time.
Everything was set, but the ship destined for the engine install never arrived. It sank just days from port, leaving the engines on the dock without a ship to power. They went into storage as the client searched for a new disposition for the engines. After the engines sat for 7 years, in late fall 2024, Barnhart heard again from the customer.
We got a call from a panicked customer letting us know that the lease had run out on the building that they were storing these engines in, and they needed to come up with a plan very quickly to move these engines off-site to another location.
With the warehouse lease expiring and costly penalties looming, they had less than 2 months to move 4 giant engines from the Port of Seattle to an undetermined location.
Very quickly, we had to spin up people and resources to come up with a plan to move these 4 motors off-site from the Port of Seattle to really a location not yet determined in order to get out of that lease by the end of the year.
Washington's strict axle weight laws sparked relentless permit challenges. State officials resisted. There was a misunderstanding of their rules, while local officials were also resistant to the proposed move. Only a never-before-tried 11x11 GS800 setup won approval.
Approximately 375 foot long, 20 foot wide, and 16 foot tall. And it was the longest GS800 configuration that we've ever built.
This was the longest configuration in Washington state history.
Seattle's port offered no easy way to transport out of the facility. Low electric wires and bridge clearances blocked the way.
We recognized very early in this work that the routes leaving the Port of Seattle were really going to be unpassable due to overhead obstructions.
The plan shifted. Barge the engines to Olympia, then haul overland. But Olympia's exit was a beast. The only exit route, a grueling 1.5-mile uphill route while in reverse past homes and obstacles.
So we backed out of the port about a mile and a half. We ended up going up by this church up a little hill, and then making that first turn we had to take out a tree, take out fences, and then miss a fire hydrant.
December 31st loomed. The first haul started under a wet November sky. 375 feet of steel inching uphill in reverse from Olympia's port. Then trouble struck.
We had to back up uphill through the neighborhood, and with the roads being wet at night, we powered out.
The GS800 strained, tires slipping on slick pavement.
It took us a second to get up that on-ramp. We ended up having to pull it up with 3 semis.
Rain and debris slowed every move. Permits teetered on the edge. Axle limits and state resistance nearly derailed them, cleared at the last second.
Slightly over on 2 or 3 axles on each trailer. And we were under on total weight, and so we had to go back to Washington State DOT and ask them to approve the fact that we were under on total weight, but over on just 2 or 3 axles on each trailer. They did approve that, but it was approved on the same day that we were planning to haul.
Every mile tested their resolve. The engine's height, 19 feet, was a problem that posed a tough challenge. Barnhart engineered a solution: custom beams to cradle the engines on the GS800.
So they designed hauling beams per each ship engine that can be suspended. So when we get to site and offsite, all we had to do was place temporary stands and lower the ship engines down on the stands where we can break the trailer away. It also allowed us to decrease our height by 12 inches to get underneath structures.
We hung it, on actual rigging instead of our other style that we normally do. So it was new to me, seeing something like that. It made it really efficient.
Washington's strict axle laws required Barnhart's GS800 to be configured at 372 feet, a design never before attempted.
It was determined that they would only permit the load if we were running an 11x11 bolster-to-bolster system.
Barnhart turned obstacles into answers. It took every hand, teams from Long Beach and the Northwest working together as one.
We reached out to LAX. They have the over-the-road expertise for the West Coast. The team there quickly spun up and came alongside the groups here in the Northwest to help execute this work.
Safety management kept the team sharp, crews working together to ensure every move was executed flawlessly.
Everybody had the ability to, we always say, oh, you can call all stop. Everybody had that ability, right? And we had new guys come out on this project and point out stuff that, hey, this doesn't look right.
I went out there on the first haul to make sure everything was followed in place.
The first night threw everything at them. Unknowns, rough weather, sudden obstacles. But honed skills and smart moves kept them on track.
For me, the most intense part of this move was the night of the first haul. At that point, my groups out of the Northwest had executed our half of the work, waiting for that call in the morning from the haul group, from Brandon and Tiny. It was great to hear him in the morning and said that they'd got the first turn done and that they were on their way back and everything had gone exactly to plan. That fear of unknown, that fear of waiting is sometimes very difficult.
4 hauls later, they got it done.
Being the longest haul in the history of the state of Washington, it was that planning and that preparation that paid off.
A young foreman felt the weight.
Taking that first one's always the hardest.
Together, they delivered. 4 engines, 250,000 pounds each, reached Centralia. A 6-year job closed out with 0 safety incidents.
This is a perfect example of Barnhart's ability to handle complex, multi-layered hauling jobs.
A tight window, relentless permit battles, and Barnhart's sprawling GS800 system defined the effort.
Second to none, right? To be able to come in and as somebody's green and be able to come in and run this stuff, it just shows the type of support.
Tight deadlines, tough routes, and brutal weather met their match. This was Barnhart at their best, ready for the challenge, steady to the end.